Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime. Welcome back, everybody, to season 5, the season of encounters. That's right. We're going out to Vail, Colorado, Summit Eagle County. Gonna find out what kind of Bigfoot stories come from them. Got a brand new Quasi championship for stupids, and a follow up with a Bigfoot campfire story. How can you go wrong? I don't think you can. At least not on a Wednesday night like this. I'm your host here. I'm the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and tonight we are talking about Bigfoot stories from Colorado, right there by all the resorts and the ski resorts and everything you'd think that Sam Squanches would be living up in there. And sure enough, they apparently do. First thing we're going to be talking about tonight, though, is a little bit of news because we like to get that stuff out of the way early on during the show. And our good friend Doug Hudson, owner of the Realistic Bigfoot Costume, and of course, clonefx.com. That's KLONEFX.com, the FX company behind Valley of the Samsquatch or Hunting Grounds. Sent to me this one just before the beginning of the show. Is there a Bigfoot on Gold Rush? I don't know. Apparently there was like a Bigfoot. There was a Bigfoot thing that happened on the Gold Rush guys' deal in Colorado, and supposedly they're making a special about it. But I don't know anything about it. But apparently Doug is getting a little bit tongue in cheeky here with the Realistic Bigfoot costume back there running the cat. Good job. All right. Let's see here. Hey, seriously, free the apes. If you're going to give your money to something, this is a hell of a decent thing to give the money to. The guys are rescuing just our cousins in really bad shape, in really bad situations. Unfortunately, the people that do fund them says there isn't going to be any money until January 18th, and that's only if the application's actually approved. So they're basically screwed from now until January of 2018. And for $25K, he thinks he can get it done. He focuses on rescuing orphan chimpanzees, orangutans from horrible situations of captivity in Africa, the Middle East, and Eastern Asia. And of course, this was put up by J.C. Johnson, who is always a big friend of the primates in all of us. It's really sad. Most of the times he's taking over baby chimps from places where their mother's been killed right in front of them in a some kind of poaching deal. So this is on an Indiegogo campaign. So they're actually looking to get this funded. So if you want to check it out, it's Free the Apes. Pegasus Free the Apes is the organizer on Indiegogo.com or Generosity.com. That happens to go to the same place. All right. What the hell is going on in Devil's Kettle? Apparently, all this water goes into a hole and it never comes out. He thought was going on in Minnesota, but the DNR says the mystery has finally been solved. The scientific curiosity shed light on the mysterious waterfall phenomenon, a state hydrologist says. Yeah, hydrologist. Hydrolysis will help you find gold. Don't ever count out the hydrolysis. Anyhow, Judge C.R. Magny State Park, the Brule River splits into two at Devil's Kettle, with one branch flowing over a typical waterfall and the other branch disappearing into the hole at the bottom. Using stream gauges, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources determined that the water rejoins the river farther downstream, the agency announced on Tuesday. Basically, they metered the water at the top, they metered the water at the bottom, and found that it was the same, which means the water that's disappearing down a hole has to come out somewhere. I read the rest of the article down here. They're going to put some kind of radioactive dye in the water, turning common turtles into ninja turtles. But they're not going to, they say that it's completely harmless and not to worry about the 500-foot alligators or the kung fu wielding rats. That's how they always solve these things, is with radioactive dye. That's right. TwinCities.com. You can check that one out. Pardon me. The Texas Cryptozoology Resource Forest Monster. The topic of our conversation. 4 cryptozoologists, Lyle Blackburn, the southern Sasquatch, remains an ever elusive but endlessly fascinating subject, so much so he's now written his second book on the subject. Texas-based Blackburn should be well known in Falk, Arkansas, where he's researched the Falk monster, which inspired his first book, The Beast of Boggy Creek. In that chronicle of the local Boggy Creek monster, he took an even-handed, curious, and serious look at the subject. Inspired as a youngster by the legendary low-budget Charles B. Pierce horror flick, The Legend of Boggy Creek, Blackburn developed a healthy interest into the folk monster on that film and similar critters described in legend and lore. Now he's back with Beyond Boggy Creek. Out now for Anomalous Books. The author, a Rue Morgue magazine contributor who has appeared on several TV shows and was featured in the documentary Boggy Creek Monster, takes a wider approach to the Sasquatch story in his new work. Yeah, Lyle's a believer. That's why I like to give him props and publicity when I can. He's a good guy, doesn't have any deep, dark secrets. Not so much a woo supporter, but won't tell you that you're wrong. He's not me. So, you want to check it out. He's got his second book out. The first book was The Beast of Boggy Creek, and the second book is Beyond Boggy Creek. Congrats, Lyle, man. Keep writing them. People will buy them like that. I don't care. Apparently, they don't want you to see this. Yeah. AOL.com, consider the source, gives us a rare look into a rare case of Down syndrome documented in a chimpanzee. Now, this is a wonderful thing to happen in closed captivity, and it's great that there was some kind of a connection here that went on. But we were talking about this the other day. Somebody got really, really angry on the channel, was giving me, you can't tell me that all Sasquatches are going to be like Harry and the Hendersons. They're going to be mean bastards out there too. And I am totally down with you. There's going to be broken ones. There's going to be mentally deficient ones, such as those sad rare cases here. And in the wild, though, the question would be would they survive? Now, me, I'm the first one to tell you, if I was in a Neanderthal tribe, I'd have been dead by the time my eyes went bad at about 8, because I wasn't useful for anything at that point, and no one was going to feed me if I wasn't useful. So I'd have been dead off early in my life. I'd have never gotten to this. Thank God for civilization and technology. But, would a troop of chimpanzees just smash the shit out of something that was that mentally deficient? I don't know. That would be a question that we would have to see some footage on, and we barely get good footage of tribal chimpanzees as it is. However, this is a documented case of Down syndrome within the chimpanzee, and that shows us that we're one step closer to them being us. Hashtag stop eating your cousins. All right. Moving right along here. The feds are going to spend money studying Bigfoot. Imagine that. National Park Service commissions research on tales of sea monsters, little people, wild babies, unexplained lights in Alaska. That's right. They're going to spend $149,927. That's at the beginning. We'll see how much that is at the end. Researching Bigfoot, sea monsters, unexplained lights, and other paranormal activities. Kerouac. No, that's not right. Kawak. Nope, that's not right either. Kawakarak, it's probably closer. Incorporated, a nonprofit group that serves people of Eskimo, Aleut, and American Indian descent in the Bering Strait region between Alaska and Russia, received the grant last year. The organization illustrates its projects with a picture of Hairy Man, a mythical Bigfoot-like creature. Congratulations to the outgoing Obama administration for spending an extra $150K on this. It's Bigfoot studies, so yeah, we always bitch that there's no money at it, but wow, way to give the Alaskans some money without being a dick about it. That's just ridiculous. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be just about this. Okay. The organization says the research is important to understanding how cultural influences believes in the paranormal. That's a horrible sentence. The object of the project is to document in a serious and meaningful way Bering Street residents' knowledge of experience with and beliefs about supernatural phenomenon. The group said, "We think that this information is important to understanding how people relate their environment and their culturally specific understandings of these phenomenon, which have not been previously documented." So there you have it. You can check that one out at freebeacon.com. Of course, the Washington Free Beacon, best resources on the planet. Okay. And finally tonight, if that isn't going to kick your ass, this one can just kiss my ass. Literally. Come on, stop being a white page and do something about this. There we go. The rock band Kiss is now selling an empty bag of air guitar strings for $4 freaking dollars. That's right. You get a Kiss logo, air guitar strings, 2 staples, and an empty plastic bag to string up your air guitar. Oh my God. Gene Simmons is a marketing genius. And saying all of that, I've got to tell you, I've got it already figured out. My marketing team was on it right away. Here are Reverend Jeff certified invisible Bigfoot hairs. Can you see them in there? They're definitely certified by me, 100% certified by me, that there are invisible Bigfoot hairs in there. And if you just deposit $9.95 into my PayPal, that'll include shipping and handling. Make sure you put your address in the notes, or I'm just keeping your money. And as a bonus, for an additional $4.95, I'll even autograph it for you so you can have your own horrible serial killer like hand scripting of the Reverend Jeff on your invisible Bigfoot hairs. So for $14.95, you get it autographed. For $9.95, you get it unautographed. Ooh, and if you want to share your invisible Bigfoot hairs with all your friends, that's right. For $29.95, you can have the double pack. Just pay separate shipping and handling. Sorry, that's the way it goes. An additional $5 for the autographs. That's right. Reverend Jeff's going to pimp something, not sippy cups and onesies. We're selling invisible Bigfoot hairs. Holy shit. And with that, my friends, I love all y'all. We are now going to take a moment out of this hilarity to talk a little bit about Quasi theories with Dean Cooper. That's right. How you like them apples? I like them apples a lot. Wow. It's just going to be one of them night people, I swear. It gets better. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
Why we don't see the squatch in front of our nose, or you can't see the trees with all that forest in the way. The Reverend Jeff suggested I do a quasi on why we can't see things that are physically there, like maybe a Sasquatch hiding behind a bush that is too small for it to hide behind. I quote him, "How about a quasi on what the mind sees it doesn't really see? It only sees what it wants to, and why many Bigfoot go unnoticed as the brain can't acknowledge what it sees." I Googled about for a good half an hour and found no evidence to support his theory, at least not in terms of actually not visually seeing an object because you don't believe that type of object exists. Humans are pretty good at not recognizing social conditions they think don't exist, as in not recognizing that people born poor simply don't have the same opportunities as people born middle class. But physical objects are not blocked by disbelief. You might interpret something you see to be something else, like the mommy who sees her beautiful baby, while onlookers wonder where she got that ugly little ape from. No, you don't see the squatch squatting behind the too small shrubbery for the same reason you got hit by a car while texting while crossing the street. Your attention was elsewhere. Your attention is rather like your eyesight. The only thing in clear focus is in the central part of your total field of view. The stuff off to the side gets fuzzier, and when you get to the edges, it's almost not visible. Or think about hearing things. If you are watching TV and the action has really got your attention, and your significant other is asking you to let the dog out, do you hear them right away? Not until they yell at you and get right up in your face does your attention turn to what they are saying. So, you're strolling through the forest and it's cold or it's hot or the bugs are biting or the trail is rough or you're listening for wood knocks and whoops or prints or oddly stacked broken branches just when you pass that almost obvious Sasquatch. If it doesn't jump up and go ooga booga, you'll probably just waltz right on by it. You weren't paying attention. You may read the text of this on my blog at bhaidin.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
Yay! Make you have to be a liar. Thanks there, Dean. Way to have a friggin' Quasi on me. Woohoo! That's all right. We got another one coming up right behind that one. The genius behind the camping tips for stupids. That's right. Mr. Jevin Moore has brought us this gem this week. Let's see what happens.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 33. How to recognize shit in the woods. The wilderness is full of shit, and even more importantly, animal shit. But what animal should be a red communist flag to you? Some shit you just gotta avoid out there. Don't want to start some shit with an angry bear or mountain lion. So here are some points on that shit. This is deer shit. You can tell because it has the word deer shit written next to it. This will be commonplace where there are deer taking shits. But what you really need to look out for are these, which aren't such common shit. This is cougar shit. It's basically cat shit, only bigger. Like this shit right here. This is bear shit. Does a bear shit in the woods? Yes, stupid. All the fucking time. Remember to wear high-top boots. And lastly, this is Godzilla shit. Enough said. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population. And if you like this shit tonight, be sure to go and subscribe to my new YouTube channel, Gone Camping. Gone Camping, where you get your gear reviews, campfire cooking videos, and me, this shit right here, going camping.
Well done there, Mr. Jevin. I got a new kick up there for Gone. Is it Gone Camping or is it Going Camping? Because you said both. We'll have to make sure we get that squared away. Just type it in the thing there, and I'll make sure that I put it up behind the end of the show here. So there you have it, folks. Camping Tips for Stupids by the Life and Times of JCM. That's right, the Jesus Christ of Monterey Bay, Mr. Jevin Moore. Woo! As the Ric Flair used to once say when he was in... when he was in the arena. All right. Well, I promised tonight that we was going to take you out to Vail, Colorado, and that's exactly what we's going to do in just a moment here. I got to bring it up because it's been down so long. Yeah. YouTube is just kind of, well, God bless it. It's free. So let's try this again. It should be there now. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, I knew that. See, I knew that I could do it. All right, there it is, baby. There's I-70, the Vail Pass, the famous rest area. They're like, look, if you're tired and you're going to Denver, just take a couple hour nap at the rest area and then finish it up. Because otherwise, you're probably going to drive your dumb ass off of the interstate, and it ain't going to end well for you at all. But this is the area that we is talking about. Because you go up here, you look, oh, and sure enough, there's Denver. Denver's right up there. We's out in the middle of the mountain passes is where we are. But at the end of all of this is the city of Denver. Yeah, see, it's up there. Yeah. pull it out a little faster, but things don't broadcast quite that fast. Okay, so Vail is the Tahoe of Colorado. I mean, it is basically where everything happens. Copper Mountain, Silverhorn. I mean, these are places where people go and ski. And as you can see, as usual here, let's see if we can kick it over to Google Earth. It will look exactly like all of the other Bigfoot territories that we talk about: ridge lines, high points, wet sides, dry sides. I mean, it looks identical to what we always talk about, the type of terrain that Bigfoot like to inhabit around it. And of course, you're going to get these stories where they come into these little towns. So tonight we're talking about Vail, and because Vail actually kind of straddles two counties, we're going to get into both Eagle and Summit County stories tonight. So let's just get in here a little bit closer to the Vail ski area here, and we'll see what kind of stories we can come up with. Now, originally here, there was one from the 1960s, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was in the late 1960s, but I believe we're going to skip that one because it just kind of rambles. However, here goes one from 1998, fall, September 19th in the 1998. The nearest town is called Leadville or Leadville. It just depends on where you come from. Nearest road was Colorado 91. I observed in Colorado. I lived in Colorado for 29 years. 18 of those years I spent working at a ski resort. Over the years, I've seen hundreds of deer and elk, as well as dozens of bear, everything from cubs to large 400-pound males. In the last 4 years, I've had 3 separate sightings of 4 creatures that I hesitate to identify. The first happened in the fall of 1998 off of the highway between Copper Mountain and Leadville. I'm not judgmental. As I was driving towards Leadville, I saw what I first thought was a large tree stump that somebody had carved like a totem pole. It was about 100 feet to my left on the valley floor. While I was marveling at the detail of this carving of the totem pole, it rotated from the waist up and looked at me. I slammed on my brakes and skidded to a stop on the shoulder. When the dust cleared, the creature was gone. I turned around the car, but no luck. What I saw was hairy from head to toe, very thick with broad shoulders, and lacked the long snout and round rump that bears have. So it was in the daytime, completely clear, right there at Copper Mountain, where we were just talking about that one. We're going to skip that super duty long one because, man, I really would be scared to go and try and read that crazy lady's story again. I tried to do it before the show, but I just got lost in transition or translation, whatever that crazy movie was. Anyhow, all right. It was summer, June the 13th, Colorado, Summit County. Campsite at Sunrise Lake in the Eagle's Nest Wilderness. We followed directions out of the guidebook. What they observed: my husband and I were camping in the Eagle's Nest Wilderness, Colorado, early June 2013. While hiking on the trail, we had encountered a large than normal amount of snow due to the late snowstorms. We were a few miles up the trail from the Surprise Lake when we heard a low growl. It must be a mountain lion, and due to the snow and the inability to travel quickly, we doubled back to Surprise Lake and set up camp for the night. While sitting at the lakeside, I saw a large brownish red animal across the lake. The animal was large and appeared to be walking upright. My rational mind said that it's just a deer or another large animal that lives in the wilderness, and disregarded it with what I thought I saw. Later that evening, around dusk, my husband and I were sitting in the tent when we heard what sounded like a knock against a tree. We looked out the tent door and didn't see anything. Again, I assumed this must have been a woodpecker, another animal, or a hiker. We continued to talk and heard the knock again. It was a 3-knock pattern, along with something that sounded like a rock against a tree. We got out of the tent and looked around. I told my husband it sounded like the rock thrown against the tree, and he said, Let me show you what it sounds like. So I picked up a hard sound rock and threw it against a tree. Immediately, a similar sound came back. Ooh, creepy. I assumed it was an echo, and I did it again, and a similar sound came back once again. My husband then asked if I had seen something move up the hillside and explained where he saw movement. A large brownish red animal was peeking out from behind the tree. The animal was swaying back and forth from behind the tree. The animal appeared to be squatted down, swaying and peeking out from behind the tree again. It had a large head with a large brow line, large shoulders and nose. The nose and upper lip appeared to be lighter in color than the rest of the animal seen. We took our sport camera and tried to take pictures of the animal, but it was about 40 feet up the hillside. We have blurry pictures of it, but it appears to have a large animal head in the picture. As we watched the animal sway back and forth, we heard a large knock behind us to the left towards the lake, then heard a knock up towards the animal we saw, then back behind us. The feeling was very odd and made us feel very uncomfortable. My husband wanted to hike out, but due to the late evening, I suggested we stay and hike out first thing in the morning. We carry a large knife, bear spray, and a gun with us, so I felt somewhat safe. It was a very restless night, and the first few hours of daylight, we packed our bags and left. After hiking out, getting to the car to drive off, we discussed what we witnessed, and both could not explain what we saw. This has taught me to not throw rocks against trees. Yeah, I bet that's a very, very creepy type of response. You know, you throw a rock against a tree, you get a knockback. Oh, you do it again, and you get another response. And the whole swaying back and forth behind the tree, that's very, very ape-like behavior, very, very primate-like behavior. You hear about people talking about that, especially when they're hiking at night. They'll see something swaying back behind trees or swaying behind two trees. And, you know, in the thermal footage that Parcatino took back a few years ago, you know, there was one that was walking back and forth between the trees, but yet there was another one that was just kind of staring and piercing out between two trees. You couldn't really see what it was doing very well. Let's see here. All right, let's move along here to the Eagle County, Colorado sightings. April 2000. Wow, that's getting to be pretty contemporary. We like those types of stories. Pardon me for just a moment. All right. We are on the Eagle River in Colorado. Of spring, April the 21st of the year 2000. In early April 2000, Colorado resident Bill B. noticed 3 large human-like tracks while fly fishing along the south shoulder line of the Eagle River, approximately 1 mile east of Eagle, Colorado. The tracks got Bill's attention because a different Colorado fisherman, Vern P. of Grand Junction, Colorado, reported finding a number of 18 to 20-inch long human-like tracks along the same river a few days prior. Vernon reported his find to the Vail Trail newspaper. An article mentioning the tracks appeared in the 3/28 edition of the paper. Vern's tracks were found on 3/21 on a sandbar silt gravel area just west of town of Gibson on the Eagle River. Gibson is approximately 7 miles west of the city of Eagle. Bill B., a resident of Eagle, thought someone should know about this find of similar tracks along the river, so he reported it to the Eagle County Sheriff's Department. Officers from the Sheriff's Department eventually went to the scene of the tracks. Bill B. also submitted a report of the track find to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization via their website, bfro.net, upon the recommendation of Sergeant Kaufman. Hey, way to go, Sergeant Kaufman, about knowing about the BFRO. Woo! As a Colorado investigator for the BRO, they spoke with Bill P., Sergeant Kaufman, and Vern P. to confirm the details, and they returned to the site a few times and documented the scene thoroughly. Well, congratulations to you guys for doing a bang-up job. We really do appreciate that. Here's another one that's always kind of creeps me out when I hear these kind of stories. It's Class B from August, again, of the year 2000. In the year 2000, Smart people know where that came from. Okay. Nearest town is Eagle. Brush Creek Road. My girlfriend and I were hiking the Lake Charles Trail in the Holy Cross Wilderness area. We had hiked approximately 3 hours, 6 miles, when we reached a basin, which included 2 to 3 small lakes. Upon reaching the basin area, a clearing, after climbing a steep switchback, we immediately heard what sounded like a loud scream coming from approximately 50 to 75 yards away in the dense pine cluster at the base of the mountain. The sound grew louder as the animal was moving in a diagonal to us and through the pine cluster, somewhat towards us. The vocalization now sounded like a large man wailing or moaning in a loud rhythmic pattern. The vocalization would last for 2 to 3 seconds and then pause for 4 to 5 seconds and then start up again. This went on for like 2 to 3 minutes. I'm an avid hiker and an outdoorsman, and I'm familiar with animal vocalizations, including bear and elk, coyote, and mountain lion. I can say that what I heard was not an ordinary animal. I had with me 2 Dobermans that have the tendency to chase a moving animal. However, on this occasion, they were motionless, showing a curious stance and looking in the direction of the sound. As the sound grew louder, I became extremely frightened due to the volume and unknown nature. I leashed the dogs and reached for my pepper spray as the sound moved ever closer towards us. I cannot emphasize enough of the rhythmic nature of this call and sheer volume. The vocalization eventually stopped, and we continued our hike. 5 minutes later, we passed a White River Forest Ranger, Lisa, who we questioned regarding the vocalization. She had heard it also and stated that in her years of service, she had never heard a sound like that before. She had no idea what it was. Sure thing, Forest Ranger Lisa, if that's even your real name. Kidding, of course. So there you have it. We're looking at all these little cities and all these little towns right around Vail, and story after story, they're just like every other place we've really looked into deeply. Bigfoots do happen. Here's one, a Class A from just January of 2013, and this is why we were leading up to all of this tonight. Let's see here. Bum-ba-da-da. That's right. Winter, January 17th, 2013, between Dos Cerro and Glenwood Springs on I-70 westbound, 15 miles east of Glenwood Springs, Colorado. My wife and myself and another couple were traveling west on I-70, roughly the 135 mile marker. The Colorado River is very visible to you on the left side, only 50 yards away. The temperature was 10 degrees. It was about 5 p.m., still plenty of daylight. We were all enjoying viewing the Colorado River when all 4 of us noticed something tall, thin, and hairy walking in the middle of the river. It was slightly leaning forward, and its arms were swinging. We just saw it for a few seconds as we were traveling at highway speeds. We commented to each other that that's strange, as it seems that it may have been a Bigfoot. There were 4 witnesses total. They were all riding in the same car. 5 p.m., right around dusk. The lighting was adequate to see up to 300 yards away. The weather was clear and very cold at 10 degrees. And that is actually BLM land. They went back and investigated. They spoke to the 4 witnesses and found that they were credible. And, that's one of the things that's where we were going tonight. Was tonight's Bigfoot campfire story, of course, is, if this will unshare for me here, there we go, is also brought to us right through the Vail Pass, where a truck driver actually struck a Bigfoot right along that same pathway, where these people here actually saw the same thing. So I figured tonight we'll end it with another Bigfoot campfire story where a trucker hits a Bigfoot on I-70 in Colorado. Thanks, everybody, for watching the show tonight, and may the Squatch be with you. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Welcome to another episode of Bigfoot Campfire Stories. This story comes to us from high in the Rocky Mountains. Wally, a long-haul semi-driver, encountered a creature unlike anything he had seen before and came away with this amazing tale. This is that story. Now, I know that you've heard stories like this before, but I've got no reason to lie about it, so here it goes. I was on a long haul coming into Denver on I-70. Everything was just as normal for a typical early fall trip. The first week of October is always a beautiful time to travel through the mountains, so I was looking forward to it. Well, I drive mostly in the afternoons to late night before the time runs out, so I catch the sunset nearly every night. I was hauling a heavy load of material for some manufacturer, and it took me some time to get up the grades, but going downhill I had to be really careful not to overheat my brakes and end up on some overrun waiting for help. Well, the sun had gone down about 2 hours before I was going through the Vail Pass. I-70 is a well-traveled, prepped road, but for some reason my brakes weren't all that great. But I'd hit Denver before my time was up for tonight, so I wanted to go ahead and push it through. Well, it had gotten dark, and I mean very dark, as the mountains take away the light that much more. I had gotten to the bottom of the downgrade and had let off the brakes to accelerate towards the upgrade when all of a sudden, and I mean fast as lightning, something ran out in front of my rig, and it was big. The rig crashed into it, then bounced and snarled to a stop. The animal had rolled off to the passenger side the same way it hit. I'd unbuckled my belt and tried to open the door, but it was stuck. The entire cab was off kilter. The passenger door was caved in and unusable. I finally kicked open the driver's door and got down out of the rig. I walked around the front of the truck, and it was just trashed. The whole front grille and light pods were gone. There was hair all over the truck where the animal had hit. It was on the fender and on the door. It was where the animal had rolled back, I guess. I turned my attention to what I had struck, as it just laid yards from me in a heap of blood and hair. I got out my phone, dialed 911 to report what had happened, and the mile marker just before I lost signal. Well, I walked up to the animal laying there, and I noticed that it was still breathing, kind of gasping for air, but not really moving at all. I couldn't really tell what it was, just laying there, until I walked around it and could see the head. This wasn't any big black bear. In fact, this was a Bigfoot. Yeah, I know there's no such thing as Bigfoot, but I hit one with my truck all the same. I ran backwards towards the cab and tried to call 911 again, but the phone would not connect. I could hear in the distance the emergency people coming. I wasn't that far from the next town. And just as the sheriff was getting closer, I turned back to look at the animal, and I was amazed to see it was trying to get up. It was up on its legs in one arm, and the other arm was holding its side in pain. And you can see it was definitely injured. Covered with a matted, bloodied hair from where it was lying, my flashlight couldn't even light up the entire thing. It was that big. All I could think of was, please don't run off until someone gets here, or no one will believe me. Well, sure enough, as the sheriff pulled up, I went to quickly grab him. We heard a shocking, blood-curdling scream. Well, he drew his gun and ran towards where the animal had been, but it was gone. Well, the sheriff had already called the tow truck. It was already on the way. And by the time they showed up, the sheriff had already taken my statement. Well, since he hadn't seen the animal before it ran off, he just put down unidentified large mammal as the cause of the accident. The tow truck driver even admitted that he had never seen that much damage from an animal strike in 25 years of towing. It must have been like hitting the lottery, though. In the last 15 years, I haven't seen anything like it. Too bad this truck driver didn't think to collect some hair or even some blood, but we didn't think like that back then. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you.